Today, we're going to be talking about four must draft, undervalued mid round wide receivers. Let's get it.
Welcome to FaZe Fantasy Live with your host, Lonnie Z.
What's going on, everybody? It is great to be here. It's a beautiful Thursday morning, and we are about 22 days out of the start of 2022 NFL season. That's kind of cool. That is kind of cool. I can't wait for daily to start. Me and my group of guys, we always play daily fantasy on FanDuel. We've done fairly well over the past couple of years, and so we're looking to have a big year this year. But right now, we're going to be talking about four wide receivers that, in my opinion, are undervalued and that you can probably pick up in the later rounds. They're out of the top 25, so none of them have an ADP better than 25. So they're all below that. And kind of share with you where they were picked up in this recent draft that I had and just kind of go from there. So let's get it going. All right, first, Adam Thielen. We have Adam Thielen of the Minnesota Vikings. His ADP is 28. Last year, he had 63 receptions, 686 yards, and 10 touchdowns through the first 11 games. 10 touchdowns through the first 11 games. He was only 14 points behind Justin Jefferson at the time, and he was wide receiver 7. So I've been hearing a lot about Adam Thielen, his decline. He's going to decline. He's not going to, don't draft him, or you can get him real late and all this and that. Adam Thielen is still a good wide receiver. Now, he got injured week 13, and then he missed 4 games. But over the past 2 seasons, he's continued to produce with 24 touchdowns on 202 targets. This year, he'll be 32. So, his age and his durability are both, concerns, but he still has a lot in the tank. Another negative about Thielen is Irv Smith is healthy. Irv Smith Jr., he's healthy, and he's expected to have a big role in the Vikings offense. So with all that being said, I still think Thielen is a great value pick. I think you can get him in the mid rounds. And here's why. Him and Kirk Cousins have great chemistry. Thielen is a touchdown magnet. He gets the ball down by the end zone. Jefferson's the big play guy. Thielen is the possession guy, the clutch guy, the goal line guy. None of that's changed. Him and Kirk Cousins still have a great rapport. And I think that now you bring into the equation Kevin O'Connell. Remember, the Minnesota Vikings were coached by Mike Zimmer. And Mike Zimmer is a straight up defensive guy. He loves defense. He would run the ball 40, 50 times a game if it was up to him. Smash mouth, defense and running right up the gut. That's Mike Zimmer. Well, the Vikings have changed their entire philosophy. They've always been a very decent fantasy team with Dalvin Cook. At one time, Stephon Diggs was there, Adam Thielen. Then they got Justin Jefferson. Even Kyle Rudolph was a fringe, tight end 2, fringe tight end 1 for a couple of seasons there. Then they draft Irv Smith Jr. 2 years ago, and he was out all last year. And they expect big things from him at the tight end spot. But Thielen has been very consistent over the years, and he's never had to be the guy. He had Diggs with them before. Now he has Jefferson. And so he can always get the better matchups, and he exploits them. Adam Thielen is going to have a big year this year. Expect him to get at least what he had last year with the 63 receptions and 686 yards and 10 touchdowns in 11 games. He'll get that easy. I see him as a solid wide receiver 3 and a fringe wide receiver 2 I wouldn't count on him consistently in that wide receiver 2 spot, but a solid wide receiver 3 with some wide receiver 2 upside, great mid-round value. In the league that we just drafted in over the weekend, he was wide receiver 35 that came off the board. Now his ADP is 28, but there were 34 other wide receivers that were chosen in our draft before Adam Thielen. And that's a 10-team draft, and that he was picked up in the 8th round. I think that person that got him in the 8th round really got a good deal because, they got Cooper Kupp on their team and T. Higgins on their team and Adam Thielen. And they picked up Thielen in the 8th round. That's about right. Get him if you're in a 10-team league, you can get him in the 8th, probably maybe 9th. The one thing about Thielen, though, that doesn't make him such a sleeper, he's not really a sleeper. There's just been a lot of reports coming out that he's not going to have a great year or he's going to have a down year. The thing is, he has the reputation. And even people who don't study fantasy football know of Adam Thielen, and they may, Adam Thielen's out there, let me draft him. And it can mess up your draft because you know where he should go and where you should be able to get him, but he still has a reputation. So Adam Thielen, he's a kind of undervalued, I think, at ADP 28. I think he could have been in the top 25. This is the first time he's out of the top 20 in a few seasons. So look for Adam Thielen. Look for him in the mid rounds, probably 7, 8, 9, 10, right around there, depending on your league. If you're in a 12-team league, he may go in the 6th round, but Adam Thielen is one to keep an eye on. Don't believe all the reports that he's going to have a horrible year. Kevin O'Connell is bringing that LA Rams Express offense to the Minnesota Vikings. All the Vikings are going to prosper in this offense because of Kevin O'Connell. Even Kirk Cousins, look for him to have a better year this year. But Adam Thielen, he is a great, solid wide receiver 3. If you're able to get him in the 7th through the 10th round, get him because he will just lock in that number 3 wide receiver or that flex for you, and you won't have to worry about it. You'll be solid. If you have 2 really good receiver 1 and 2, he's a great number 3. Next up on the list is Hunter Renfrow. Now, you know what? I've heard a lot about Hunter Renfrow in this offseason. And most of it's not good. Most people are saying, well, here comes Devontae Adams. Hunter Renfrow is going to have a bad year. This is really going to hurt Hunter Renfrow. I've been hearing that take over and over again. I'm not getting it. I don't understand. His ADP is 30. So his wide receiver 30. And he's coming off his best season ever. He had 103 receptions, 1,038 yards with 9 touchdowns. And yeah, Devontae Adams is there, but that's going to help him. I think totally opposite. I think it's going to help Hunter Renfrow. Dealing with Devontae Adams as a defensive coordinator and as just a defense is like a nightmare. It's hard to deal with that guy. Devontae Adams is really, really good. I think you all know that. If you're listening to this podcast, you know how good Devontae Adams is. But that's only going to open things up for Renfrow. You got Darren Waller, who last year was not himself, but he's supposed to be healthy this year. And so Darren Waller, Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow. Hunter Renfrow is going to get a lot of matchups that are very, very good for him in this year, in the 2022 season. He can now focus on his natural position, which is a slot receiver. Now, last year, he became by default. I mean, think about all the stuff that happened to the Raiders. Gruden, he gets fired. And then you got the receiver getting in, drunk driving, and now he's in prison. And that's not, that's a horrible thing that happened there. Darren Waller wasn't himself. They tried all kinds of they had, Deshaun Jackson in there trying to catch ball. They were trying everything they could. But what emerged out of that was actually a number 1 last year Hunter Renfrow became the number one guy for Derek Carr and the Las Vegas Raiders. And he did a great job. Obviously this year his target share is going to drop some because Davante Adams is in the house and he's going to require a lot of attention. And his boy is Derek Carr, and they went to Fresno State together. And so they're back and reunited, and they're going to have fun. I'm doing a podcast where I talk about Derek Carr. Look for that one. That's coming up later on in this week. And man, Derek Carr, I think that we're underestimating that guy, but that's a whole nother story. Hunter Renfrow and Derek Carr have great chemistry already. Last year, they really, really clicked a lot. And that's not going to change. That's only going to get better this year. Now, his numbers were great. 103 receptions. I mean, that's amazing. That's awesome. I don't know if he's going to duplicate those numbers, but I think his touchdowns are going to go up. I think he may, get 1,200 yards receiving, not just 1,038. He may have 85 to 115 receptions. I think they're going to pass a lot. I think he's going to get everything underneath he's getting. Their defenses are going to focus on Waller and Adams, and they're going to take their chances with Renfrow, and he's going to burn them. Remember, Josh McDaniels had a big role in the development of Wes Welker and Julian Edelman. So he knows how to really coach up a slot receiver and get the most out of them and get looks for that guy. And even, when they had Randy Moss, they still use their slot guys in New England. So I'm telling you right now, look for Hunter Renfrow to have a big year with Josh McDaniels being there, with his rapport with Derek Carr, and with the arrival of Davante Adams. It's all going to benefit Renfrow. He's ADP 30. In the draft that we just had, Renfrow went in the 9th round, and there were 35 receivers picked up, 36 receivers, picked ahead of him. So that's below his ADP. I think that the buzz towards him is kind of negative. So you may be able to get him in the 9th, 10th round in your league, depending on your league and everyone in it. In a 12-team league, you may have to get him in the 7th round, 8th round. In a 10-team, 9th, 10th round. He's a solid, his fantasy spin is, he's a solid wide receiver 3, fringe wide receiver 2 with great upside. Definitely a flex. You can get him in the mid rounds and get him kind of cheap in the 9th, 10th round. And you're going to have a starter. You're going to have a guy on your team that you can just plug in and, hey, it's plug and play, baby. He's going. Everything is lined up for Hunter Renfrow to have a big year this year. You got to check him out. Don't miss out on him. If you're scrambling in this 8th, 9th round looking for a receiver, a wide receiver 3, and he's there, you got to get him. Our number 2 guy on this list, this guy, this is only his 3rd season. And what happened last year to him is going to benefit big time this year. Gabriel Davis of the Buffalo Bills. Gabriel Davis, his ADP is 31. But his buzz so far this offseason is all positive. So that ADP could be a little deceptive. Some people may draft him in the top 20 wide receiver-ish range. I wouldn't be surprised if I saw that. Last year, he had 35 receptions, 549 yards with 6 TDs. Now, those numbers, they don't sound great and they don't jump off the, page and you're not all excited and like, wow, this guy's awesome. But see, sometimes numbers don't tell the whole story. Here's the deal with Gabriel Davis. Emmanuel Sanders and Cole Beasley, they're gone. They're out of there. They're no longer with the Bills. Davis is now the true number 2 behind Stephon Diggs. And that offense can score 30 plus points on any given Sunday. Josh Allen is one of the best quarterbacks in the league, if not the best. You can debate with, throw him up there with Patrick Mahomes or any quarterback in this league, and you can bring Josh Allen's name right into that conversation. Beasley and Sanders, what they left out there are 186 targets. 186 targets between the two of them last year. Someone's got to get those targets. And the way Davis played down the stretch last year, I'm telling you, it's going to be him. Davis is coming into his 3rd season and is only going to get better. As Josh Allen's number 2, it should be easy for him to double his numbers, right? I mean, he only had 35 receptions last year, 549 yards, 6 touchdowns. He's going to do that in the first 6 games of the year this year. I'm telling you right now. He should easily get a minimum 70 receptions, 1,000-yard receiver, and 10 to 12 touchdowns. He can do that with Diggs there. Because think about it. It's Stephon Diggs. Last year, Dawson Knox, he kind of, came into the fold and really established himself as a legit tight end 1. And they don't really have anyone out of the backfield. Singletary towards the end of the year started playing a little better, but I think he's what, we expect him to be. So they are just really set up. Gabriel Davis is set up to have a big, big year. Now, in the draft that we just did, Davis, I think he went in the 7th round, and he was the 29th wide receiver taken in the 7th round. So he was below his ADP. His ADP is 31. He was 29, which is more kind of like it. That tells me that the buzz is getting out about this guy, that he's really going to have a good year. So you have to keep your eye on him. He's a bona fide, wide receiver 2. I believe that he's a solid wide receiver 2 and a low-end wide receiver 1 with great potential. For sure, he won't be there in wide receiver 3 territory, but if you got to pick him up anywhere between the 6th and the 8th rounds, 6th and 8th round. If you're in a 10-team league, you're going to have to really, make a decision around the 6th round if you want Gabriel Davis on your team or not. If you're in a 12-team league, you may have to make that decision in the 5th round. But Gabriel Davis is going to have a really good year. If he stays healthy, the chemistry that him and Josh Allen have, had over the past year, that was huge. He's already proven he can be a big play guy, a big game guy. You all remember that playoff game against Kansas City, right? This guy, all he did was score 4 touchdowns and destroy the Chiefs. ADP 31, undervalued. This guy is a star in the making. It's going to be him and Diggs and Dawson Knox and that gunslinger Josh Allen, and they're going to put up some big, big fantasy points and big, big points in the NFL this year. That offense is high octane. And now they went out and drafted James Cook, that they can throw the ball to him too. So maybe Josh Allen doesn't have to run as much and can stay, avoid injury. But Gabriel Davis, man, you're going to have to look for him in the 6th round. Start looking in the 6th round. He's undervalued, but his values rising quick. Just be aware that this guy is a stud, and he's a stud in the making. He's about to make things happen. And now we're going to get to our final guy, but first, before we get there, if you're getting any value out of this, I just really appreciate it. We're trying to get this information out to as many people as possible. please check out our website at phasefantasy.com. We have a draft kit there that's all set up to help you in your draft, help you dominate your draft. If you put in the code PhaseCast, that's FAZECAST, you're going to get $5 off. It's already affordable. The draft kit's only $15. I mean, that's pretty cheap, but you get it for $10 and you're going to dominate your draft. You get it's exclusive content. You get everything you need for your draft. We also have a season pass where you can, we just are with you the whole year. You get all of our premium content unlocked on the site, which from articles to podcasts to videos, even daily picks. We're going to be featuring a daily picks section this year for FanDuel, where we're going to give away some of our daily tricks and picks for that week. So we'll give you like 4 players that we're going to have on our team, or sometimes even a full lineup, but you'll get all that premium content. Go to our YouTube, Phase Fantasy Live on YouTube. Check us out on TikTok, Phase Fantasy Live on TikTok. Like and subscribe there. That would be so appreciated. Let's get on to our last guy, Alan Lazard. Now, Alan Lazard, I'm going to talk about Alan Lazard right now, but you're going to hear me talk a lot about Aaron Rodgers because I'm telling you, you can't talk about football in Green Bay without mentioning Aaron Rodgers. So Alan Lazard, his ADP is 45. I think he is the most underrated of all of them. But there's some questions about him. So we're going to dig into him right now. Lazard last year had 40 receptions, 513 yards with 8 touchdowns. That was in 2021, and that was with Davante Adams there. So he was basically he's really the number 2 to Davante Adams. 8 touchdowns is kind of impressive on 40 receptions with 513 yards. Right now, as it stands, he's really the only option for Aaron Rodgers. And I don't mean that to slight other players on the Packers, because Aaron Jones is probably the other option out of the backfield. Tanyan, unless he gets, miraculously better, maybe he's gotten some chemistry with Aaron and has earned some street cred with him where Aaron would throw him the ball more or something, in the tight end slot. AJ Dillon, but he's not a pass receiver. So really, Randall Cobb's gone. Really, it's just Lazard. But they got some young guys. The hype is about Christian Watson. I did a breakdown and a video on Watson. I'm really high on Christian Watson. I really think he's going to be a real solid receiver. Aaron Rodgers may see him down the road, or who knows? Rodgers may retire. We don't know. We don't know how many years left Rodgers has, but I think Christian Watson's going to be good. But if you remember who Aaron Rodgers is, you're going to understand that the rookie's not going to be the one shining there. He throws the ball to who he can trust. This is what he said about the rookies. This is a quote from Aaron Rodgers. The young guys, especially young receivers, we've got to be way more consistent. A lot of drops, a lot of bad route decisions, running the wrong route. We've got to get better in that area. That's what Aaron Rodgers said. And he's directly talking about rookies and young players and young receivers. So he's not too thrilled. He's not too happy. He's not this warm and cuddly, oh, come here, let me teach you the system. It's okay, buddy. You dropped that ball. No, that's not Aaron Rodgers. His NFL and football IQ is so off the charts that even if you come into the system as a rookie and you have a real high football IQ, you may not have a real high NFL IQ. And that will drive Aaron Rodgers crazy. For him to think that a receiver should be reading the defense the way he is and should break it in because that's where he's going to throw it because he just read the defense, but the rookie breaks it out. Nah, that doesn't fly with him. But this is what he has to say about Alan Lazard. He said, I really think Allen is ready to make a jump and be a number one receiver. Now, I remember a few years ago when Lazard was a rookie, and he spoke highly of Lazard then. Obviously, he had, Devontae Adams, but he spoke highly of that Lazard was a hard worker, and he thought that, he could be good. Last year, Lazard came around a little more. Now they have a few seasons under their belt together, and Rodgers trusts Lazard, and he thinks he can be a true number one. And, if that's what Aaron Rodgers says, that's all I need to hear. Because what that tells me is that Allen Lazard is going to get the majority of the target share. He's going to get all the food to eat. He is going to get fed every single Sunday. So his targets are going to be high. That means opportunity. My only question is, is Lazard really a true number one, in the sense that he's never had to play in this role before? Even if you compare him to, say, someone like an Adam Thielen, which his game kind of reminds me of Thielen's. Thielen always, got to be the number two guy. But now Devontae is gone. So Lazard, they're looking for the number one guy, and Lazard is it. He's the chosen one. Aaron chose him. Look, he should easily be able to double his numbers too. 40 receptions, 513 yards, 8 touchdowns. He should easily be able to get 80 to 100 receptions, 1,000 plus yards, 12 to 14 touchdowns. He was targeted 12 times in the end zone last season. 12 end zone targets. That was 8th best in the league. And that's with Devontae Adams there. So that tells you, when they get down inside the red zone, Aaron Rodgers looks for him. Rodgers is looking for Lazard. He's a big guy, strong guy. My only question is, can he carry all the responsibility that comes with the wide receiver one? I guess we're going to find out. And I guess I have to take Aaron Rodgers' word for it when he says that he thinks Lazard's ready to be the number one guy. Someone has to pick up all those targets that Devontae Adams left out there. And at wide receiver 45, that's really a low, he's really undervalued. Now, he's definitely his spin, the fantasy spin on this guy is he's definitely a low end wide receiver one and a solid wide receiver two. You're going to have to look for him in the 5th to 7th rounds. Lazard went in the 6th round in the draft that I just had. And so, that's about right. And when you come to a 12-team league, he may go in the 4th round, which kind of sounds crazy, but you have a couple other teams in there. That's 20 other. So you may have to go after him, between the 5th and the 7th rounds if you want to get a low end wide receiver one. The hope is, though, if you're able to get a 1-2 before then and pick him up and he's your number 3, then you're all set. I wouldn't want to count on Allen Lazard as my number one wide receiver. But a number 2, I think I can be okay with that, because he's going to get number 1 target share, number 1 targets. And so opportunity is key in fantasy football. Allen Lazard at ADP 45, he's undervalued, but his stock is rising a little bit. It is definitely rising a little bit because he went in the 6th round. And I think that, that was, he was like wide receiver 25 off the board, something like that. So that's 20 picks ahead of his ADP. And, that's why I can't go by ADP all the time. It's really hard. It's really, really difficult because you go by the ADP and the experts tell you this is where they anticipate these guys being drafted. And that's all good. We need something like that, but you can't go off of it. You have to look at situation and circumstance and the actual player themselves And above all, you have to look at your league, the guys in your league, how they draft, what they do, what their knowledge, level is. So I think he's probably 20 spots below where he should be. He should be in the top 25. And Alan Lazard, that is your biggest undervalued wide receiver. But there's buzz right now. Even from the time that I recorded this morning, there's buzz going on about Alan Lazard and Aaron Rodgers just having a good old time in Green Bay and getting ready to tear it up. One thing about Rodgers, him and Devontae Adams were really good friends, and he hated to see Adams go. But what that does to someone like an Aaron Rodgers is it puts a fire under him, and now he has something to prove, and he's going to try and have Lazard help him prove that point. So we'll see how it goes. I wouldn't bet against Rodgers, not at all. And Alan Lazard is going to be a very, very good receiver this year if he stays healthy. And he should be a low-end wide receiver 1, solid wide receiver 2. So there you go. Those are 4 wide receivers that we think are undervalued and we think you should target in your draft in the mid rounds. Lazard and Gabriel Davis, their stock is kind of rising a little bit. But Hunter Renfrow and Adam Thielen, they're just kind of staying at the same spot. Renfrow may even be dropping a little bit. I would really take advantage of the Hunter Renfrow thing. He's probably the one you're going to get the most value at, according to where you're going to be able to pick him up. But man, if you have a couple of good receivers already on your team, like if some kind of way you're able to get, say, a Chase and a Tyreek Hill, or a AJ Brown and a Jefferson or something like that on your team, and you can grab Lazard or Gabriel Davis as your number 3, man, you're doing something. Now you're doing something. Hey, hope you enjoyed the show. We are just really chomping at the bit to get this one. I got another draft coming up real soon here. I know you all have your drafts. Go to facefantasy.com, pick up your draft kit, get ready, go dominate, go win your league this year. You guys take care. Be safe out there. We'll catch you on the next one.